Hello YouTube, welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to talk about a 9th Age Homebrew campaign, and we're going to talk about turn 2. Now if you haven't listened or watched to my first video, 9th Age Homebrew campaign overview, you should go check that out first so that you have a better understanding of the campaign mechanics before I just jump into what happened in turn 2. So all I'm going to do is break down turn 2, the random events, the turn orders from each faction and confederation. Then we're going to go look at the map and see what that actually looks like. So I'm just going to jump in here. Random events. This happened back in October of 2019. We've got, going in order, the Dark Forest of Death Confederation with the faction Beast Herds. In the North map, great weather this campaign turn. Alright. And the Beast Herds of Kazrak takes advantage of this by bolstering their defenses. Add 455 points to your headquarters garrison list and 378 points to one banner. Wow, so the Beast Herds get more points to their garrison and more points to one banner. Now I'm going to look back on turn 1 because I thought, okay, Beast Herds, that did not happen to them. Okay, that happened to the other Beast Herds. Okay, alright. So let's look on the map. Beast Herds of Kazrak. That's up here if you remember. So, wait, is this the right map? Turn 2. Yes. Yep. Alright. Next, Beast Herds of Jagged Horn due to the great weather. Because of the great weather, so what happens was when they rolled random events, the random events for Beast Herds, the first one rolled great weather, so that means everyone in the north has great weather and they're all going to get extra points. But the actual amount of extra points is also randomized, so there's a lot of randomization going on in random events. Due to the great weather, add 302 points to one banner, and then Mutiny. So his first banner, Varga's Destruction, loses 400 points. If that would cause it to fall, then it's scattered and it falls. Now, when it scatters, that means it returns back to your headquarters. So if later on, if your banner has marched several spaces away, then if you lose a battle by a lot, you can become scattered, and then you're gonna come back at your headquarters. All right, Varga's Destruction. Now, did he gain any points in the first turn? Varga's Destruction. No, he did not. So that means that so he got to add 302 points to one banner. So that was his first banner. So he went from 3250 up to 3550. Then he had to lose 400 points. So he went down to 3150. So that's fine. So he was fine. He didn't scatter, but alright. Dread Elves, Pleasure. Halmorth's Vanguard is confused by the orders you give them and will use its next turn to move into one randomly determined adjacent territory as long as it is friendly or neutral. Okay. And the Vampire Covenant, small village's graveyard is found. Immediately add 390 points to one banner due to the good location to raise corpses. So that's good news for Van Karstein. Alright, then we move on to Lord Itzalak's Alliance of Desperation, Kingdom of Aquitaine. Due to taking advantage of the great weather, add 378 points to one banner. In other news, a wayward caravan wanders through your territory moderately guarded. Instead of attacking it or guiding it to I should say safety, your faction ignores it. I think he had an option there, but I'm not sure if you actually have the option to attack or guide it. I think you do. I'm not sure. Alright, orcs and goblins. Oh man. Alright, you're gonna find out in later turns. This has just been messing everything up in the south. Alright, orcs and goblins. An old hag walks into your camp and curses your faction for Kareg's plunderers plundering her hut on their forced march recently. Soon after, A swarm of rats overcomes map section South 64 and it becomes raised. Let's just check this out on the map because this is actually really key. All right. So if you remember if you watched my video for turn 1, Karg's Plunderer started here, and orcs and goblins can do this thing called forced march. Well, they made a forced march. They moved to the road, and then they made their die roll. They were able to move again to here. So they made a forced march. Well, because they did that, I guess there was an old hag's hut here. She didn't like that they were marching through her territory, so she curses them. And because they owned the road, that they're cursed, so now it got raised. So he got raised. All right. Sorry, Ancients do the Great Weather. They're also in the north. They get to add 302 points to one banner. Lord Zuha on the first spawning is confused by the orders you give them and will use his next turn to move to one randomly determined adjacent territory as long as it is friendly or neutral. Alright, so he's up here. If you remember, he moved to the road, then he randomly moved to the bridge, so that was good for him. He could have randomly moved anywhere else, but he actually got to move to the bridge, which is probably where he wanted to go anyway. Alright. And then Warriors of the Dark Gods. Fragora, Ravager of Men's Food, is spoiled and loses 130 points. Okay. So his banner was reduced. Now I think he got to add points to that banner. Turn 1. Yeah, he added 455 points to its list in turn 1. Now, because of random events, he has to lose 130 points. So he still is over 3,500 though. He's good. Alright. Dwarven Halls. This is my faction, soon as Quintum Verit. And the North map, great weather this campaign turn, and the Dwarves take advantage of this by bolstering their defenses. Add 455 points to your headquarters list and 378 points to one banner. If you remember, I already got to add points to my first banner. So this made my first banner extra large. Empire of Sonnstal. Oh yeah, this is fun. Advanced animal husbandry by a couple of particularly skilled breeders has perfected a strain. Choose up to 2 units of unit type beast or cavalry that gain +1 advance up to a maximum of 10. They do not have to be in the same banner. When this happens, okay, so I only had 1 cav unit in that banner. It was electoral cavalry. And I gave them this. So they have +1 advance rate. So now they're, I believe they're movement 9. Oh no, I gave them a speed banner. So I think I gave them a speed banner and I gave them this. So now they're like, I think they're movement 9 which is really good for Empire Knights. And, but I can't add any more models to the unit. Hope I've remembered since. I don't remember if I've been following that, but hopefully I have. Alright, Sylvan Elves. An illusionist arrives, and the camp is agog at all the mesmerizing displays. This doesn't affect your faction in any way. Well, that was fun. Undying Dynasty, due to the great weather, add 302 points to one banner. Also, an ancient battlefield is found. You may add 780 points to your headquarters garrison list. Alright. So that's really good. So already from the start, there's several of us who have pretty big armies in our headquarters, and that's going to be difficult for people to take those headquarters. We move on to the Confederation that must not be named. Dwarvenholds, an overlooked village, provides extra militia. Add 400 points to the core of Banner 1. If you remember, this is the guy that every turn, well, in the first turn, this is just turn 2. In turn 1, all he did was stay at his headquarters, and when you hold at your headquarters, you get to add 250 points to your banner. So already his banners are all 250 points stronger, and then he gets an extra 400 points to this banner. The next Dwarven holds infighting among the officers has led to poor coordination. Add 2 to all competitive scouting rules this rule. Now scouting is when you meet in battle, one of the mechanics we've had is when you move into the same space and you have a battle, you add up the number of scouting units in your army and you add the leadership of your generals, and then you basically roll off against each other. And whoever wins the roll by however much, That's your scouting roll. And your scouting roll determines your options. So when you play a battle, you don't randomly, it's not like ninth age battles where you roll to see what the secondary objective is and what the deployment is. You actually kind of get to pick it. So depending on your scouting roll, you're either the attacker or the defender. Um, if your scouting role is a lot larger than the other one, I think you get to choose if you're going to be the attacker or defender. And then depending on what that is, you have a number of strategic options, which are basically deployment types. And then depending on whichever deployment type you pick, then the other person picks theirs. And then there's this whole chart. I can show you it at some point when we actually fight a battle, and then where they intersect, that actually determines what your secondary objective is. So it's real complex, but it gives you some options. So you actually feel like a general when you're fighting a battle because you get to pick these certain types of things rather than them being randomly determined for you. All right, let's move on. Dwarven holds due to the great weather add 302 points to one banner. So his banners are getting a little big. Highborn Elves, again, great weather at 302 points to one banner. The general is confused as to why no orders were issued in the previous turn and demands an answer, refusing to move while waiting for an answer. Banner 1 holds his turn. So actually what happened is the guy playing this, he actually didn't send in any orders for turn 1. So obviously if you don't send an order in, your banners issue the turn order hold anyway, so it worked out for him, but um so it's fine. All right. Now we can move on to the Hungry Dead. Ogrecons in the north map. Fair weather this campaign turn, and the Tusk Fangs takes advantage of this by bolstering the defenses. Add 455 points to your headquarters garrison and 378 to one banner. So basically, on turns 1 and 2, we're just grabbing land, and the random events have been real favorable by and large, and we're getting a lot of points added to our banners. Ogrecons. Horrible disease. Uh oh. Darib's elf eaters have poor cleanliness in their camp and loses. Of course they are. They're ogres. They're not going to have cleanliness. Loses 300 points, which may cause it to become illegal. But when points are added in the future, it must be made legal again if possible. So they don't become scattered. I don't think. All right. Interesting. That's different. Undying Dynasties. The order sent to General turned to dust before they got him. The banner must hold this campaign turn. And the other Undying Dynasties due to great weather add 302 points to one banner. Also, your Necromancers stumble upon elven skeleton horses, alright, and are able to animate them. Choose up to 2 units of unit type Beast or Cavalry that gain +1 movement up to a maximum of 10. They do not have to be in the same banner. When this happens, the unit may not add models to the unit any longer. The unit does not change in point cost. So I don't even know if he had. Well, he got to add 302 points. So if he didn't have a cav unit, he would have had the option to add one in. Excuse me. All right. So that was the random events. Now we're just going to go through turn orders. These are pretty basic, as you saw from turn 1. So Cargo's Rampage marches from North 22 to North 29, descending from the northern mountains and upsetting the populace of the Warrens. So the Warrens is actually a special map section. So this is here. He's just moving down out of the mountains to he's actually in the Warrens. So I didn't realize he had taken the Warrens. So he gets extra things for the Warrens. Vargar's Destruction continues their march west from North 73 to North 72, entering the native Iron Claw orc camp. So this is the other guys. They've also taken a special place. Alright, so the beast herds are rampaging, that's what they do. Velmar's vanguard orders were written in blood, as is tradition, but due to the shortage of blood, the ink was not legible. Thus, Helmarth decides to random D4 march north from South 42 to South 38 to the southern banks of the West Little Grismery. So this is down here in the south. They moved here first turn, and then they randomly moved here. It was random D4 because they only have 4 options, right? They can only move here, here, or here. 4 options. All right. And von Fulbemir marches west. So if you remember, he came down out of the mountains. Boom. And now he's marching west. Boom. Alright. Then we move on to Lord Itzalak's Confederation. Sir Ghislaine's expeditionary force marches east to the Upper South Road. So he's in the north as well. He moved down into the mountains. Now he's moving to the road. Those knights do not want to be in the mountains. They just want to get on the road and the plains. Kareg's plunderers force march is successful, marching northeast as fast as they can, ending their rapid march by bathing in the sacred lake. So this is worrisome. So the orcs already, this is turn 2. Boom. They've moved 4 spaces. They're already in Sacred Lake. Very worrisome. And because he was able to take 2 spaces, he's able to get a second banner already on turn 2. And his second banner, Krugorim's Defenders attempts fate, marches northeast, venturing through the southern woods into the Selvanels realm. So I was here last turn. You're going to say I'm going to move here, and he moves here. So we're doing a little cat and mouse with orcs in the woods from this point forwards. But he's already up here. He used that forced march mechanic to just get to the Sacred Lake. And Sacred Lake is big because you get to add. You roll dice, but it's something like it's pretty reliably at 400 or 500 points per turn you can add to your banner. So that banner is going to get pretty big. It's just going to camp there in Sacred Lake because the rest of us are so far away we can't get there so quick because we don't have forced march. So, all right. Lord Zuha and the first spawning is confused by the orders given, does what he thinks is best, seizes one of the bridges over Thunder River, which we already looked at from random events. Alright. Ragora, Ravager of Men, marches north. Not that exciting, but I'll show you. He's just marching out of the mountains north towards the vampire counts. Thori Wallbreaker. This is my factions again. Alright. Regiment of the Hold continues along the mountain paths, marching. So all I've done so far is claim these mountains. That's it. Empire of Sonnstal. Sister Livian's Defenders of Twos turns north, marching into the woods. It's down here in the south. All I've done is like this. Now I think because this became raised, that threw me for a loop. I did want to take the road, but then because it's raised, when it's raised, a raised territory does not count towards the total number of territories that can support a banner. So it didn't become raised. He already gained the banner before it got raised. So he just had to take more territory by the end of the turn so he could keep his second banner. Then my forest band marches westward, which I've already shown you. Amatamuna marches eastward and seizes the ancient tower of Tor Anruk. This gives extra bonuses to magic users if they're there during a battle. Then the Confederation that must not be named. Banner 1, so they moved. He didn't hold again. He camped on the northern bank of the East Little Grismery. Alright. This is... Where's the bank? Oh, here we are. So this is this faction. So they came out of their dwarf and they camped here. Next Dwarven holds. Banner 1 holds and recruits 250 points, so they're just holding again. Banner 1 marches, camping on the western side of the Upper Thunder River. Yeah, these guys are way up here. So they came out and they camped. I think they were worried about ogres. They were worried about beasts. They're worried about Saurians. I mean, there's a lot of things going on. Also, Malco is an important city, and if you have it as dwarves, it adds extra bonuses. It gives you a lot of bonuses. It's vital to take if you're up in the north. All right, Calidor holds because they were trying to figure out where the stubborn mercenaries they hired were, resulting in the breakdown of communication with the commanders in the field. Adds 250 points of new recruits at its headquarters. Now, actually, so what happened was this guy originally was just going to play 4 different high elves factions, but then he decided to switch to dwarves. So to accommodate this, my brother, who is the organizer of all these things in the campaign, he wrote into the turn orders and the random events an explanation for how this is possible, and we just let him do it. We want people to just play what they want to be able to play. and it was early enough in the campaign that it didn't mess anything up. So, all right. Then the last confederation, the Hungry Dead, Gozerg's Flesh Devours, marches seizing the northernmost bridge over the Thunder River, which we just saw. So that's these guys. They've now come out of the mountains. They've seized the bridge. Bloody Hand, Darab's Elf Eaters, descends from the mountains and into the ruins. So they've come down and they're in these ruins now. Now these ruins I think give you bonuses if you're undead, but he's ogres. He's not undead. Pharaoh Tessamens, the first division, holds due to orders being turned to dust. So that's down here actually. So he marched and he's turned to dust. I probably should have taken advantage of that as a Sylvan Elf. I should have probably come here, but I was more concerned with orcs and goblins than I was with Undying Dynasties. And the Jest Banner of Jackals and Death marches into the swamps, following coyote trails to not get stuck on the mud. Alright, marches into the swamps. So I'll just show you. There's this big swampy area here. So he's left his HQ, he's come across the plains, and now he's into the swamps. Alright. And then there's a battle report, actually. So I apologize I did not pull up pictures for this. Border skirmish between Empire of Sonnstal and the greenskins on the road at South 64. The greenskins were massacred with a score of 17-3 in favor of the Empire. So that's actually a border skirmish that we fought. We fought this, I guess, at the end of turn 1. I don't remember we fought it so early, but we fought a border skirmish. So because we had, at the end of turn 1, we had territory that was next to each other, we were allowed to fight a border skirmish. And a border skirmish, your list is only 2250. So I don't know if I still have it written down. But I remember the basic premise of the list. I had a big block of 23 flagellants. I had a prelate on foot with the Locket of Suna that was in the flagellants. That's the way I like to run them. I run them 8 wide, 3 deep, because they're unbreakable. So who cares about rank bonuses? They're not going to break. Just maximize their damage. I took a mortar, and I took a rocket, I think. And I took 15 handgunner light infantry, 5 wide, 3 deep. And then I took a big block of spearmen. That was, I think, I took, there were either 30 or 35 of them. And then I took a Marshall BSB in the block of spearmen. And that was my army. The orcs and goblins guy had, he had a big iron orc block, which is nasty. And then he had 2 blocks of forest goblins with poison, with spears, I think. Something like that. So, actually on turn 1, what happened, oh, I also had an arcane chariot with, I forget if it had I think it had distraction, but I don't remember if it had distraction or lightning reflexes. I think it had, oop, I don't remember which it was. Anyway, so, so the way the battle went is I just kind of set up defensively. When you play a warband battle, the map is real small. You don't play 4x6. We actually played 2 by um, 2x4 or something, or a 3x4, 3x4. So you half the board because you're losing half an army. So it's only 3 feet wide and it's 4 feet across. So I think I went first, but my mortar misfired and I wasn't able to fire the rest of the game, so that was a waste. The rocket, he didn't really have anything to shoot at. I thought he might have brought trolls or chariots or something, but the rocket didn't really have anything to shoot at. I was shooting at orcs or something the whole game, and it was pointless. And then, so I moved up my flagellants a little bit because I'm not really worried about them getting charged. And then I kept my handgunners back. And then I had my spears kind of protecting the flank of the handgunners. And so the what happened was he charged my flagellants with the spears, and they just got wrecked. And that allowed me to pursue and overrun into his iron orcs. Um, and then I was able to, on later turns, I issued a duel with my prelate to his general, and he needed to accept because he needed to use the leadership of his general. Because I had Lakasuna, I was able to exchange stats with an Iron Orc war boss, which is not fun stats for him because he had prelate stats now. So my Iron Orc stats on my prelate just killed his general, and then I was able to break his Iron Orcs and kill them. Um, and then he had his other goblins pressuring. Oh, actually, he had several. I think he had 3 goblin units. He had a goblin unit that charged my handgunners, but because my handgunners were next to my spear block, because of the parent and support unit rule, even though I only had 15, and he kept whittling them down. I was getting whittled down to like 12 handgunners, 11 handgunners. But because of my chariot was within 6 inches, I think they had distracting, so he wasn't hitting them. And then they were steadfast actually because they were next to my spear block. So he didn't take out the spear block first. And so he was actually really surprised. And I was really surprised. I didn't think that handgunners were going to be able to survive because he had a block of like 30 goblins. 30 goblins should kill 15 handgunners. Well, they didn't. And I was able to be steadfast because I was able to use the parent ranks of the spear block. His other goblin unit did not charge my spears because we were both afraid. We both kind of were thinking in our heads, like, you don't want to fight against spears. Basic troops against spears is just not going to end well. So neither one of us was charging each other the whole game because we both had spears. Basically, is how it worked. Um, and then eventually, I actually charged my arcane engine into that goblin block that was fighting my light infantry, and that was the final blow for them. I was able to break them. Um, And that was it. So he just had that one spear goblin block left at the end, but I had killed enough of his guys. It was a 17-3 victory. I apologize for not pulling up pictures. I did not realize I fought the skirmish so quickly, so I'll do that in the future. But that's it for turn 2. Hope that you enjoyed it. Um, like and subscribe if you want to keep watching these videos about our 9th Age Homebrew campaign. Keep rolling those dice, and may the 6s be with you.